This was supposed to be a team who was fighting with the Chiefs and the Ravens and others for a chance to go out there and go win a Super Bowl. Now you look like a version of all the other teams we've seen here who were good enough to make the playoffs, but not good enough to take a big step. That's what's bothering people. All right. So DeMeco Ryans spoke. There are questions about how this team handles tight games. They were good in one-score games last year. It was part of the reason, if you had any concerns about the Texans, some of that, I don't know if you want to call it luck, but one-score games, by their nature, can flip from season to season. Sometimes you're really good. C.J. Stroud has been good in those, and sometimes they flip back, and it affects your overall record. So they've lost their last two. And they've been in a lot of them this year so far, just haven't gone their way this year. So DeMeco Ryans was asked about the criticism that his team is facing. It comes with the losses, and he's going to tell you they come with the territory.
When it comes to the outside noise on decision making and play calling, all those things, that's the NFL, right? We'll always get that. I don't listen to it. I don't have time to spend on everybody's opinion on how we're running our team and what we're calling and what we're doing, right? As an NFL coach, you make decisions and you stick by the decisions that you make. And everybody, of course, being an NFL head coach, is probably one of the only jobs where everybody critiques you on Monday, right? That's the only job. And besides the NFL head coach and the president, you probably get critiqued on every decision that you make because everybody else has all the answers right after the fact, but nobody has the answers in the heat of the battle, in the heat of the moment. We can all hit rewind as many times. We can slow it down as much as we want to, but that's why I'm here to make the decisions, and that's how it'll be.
We're in a world where people are making decisions at the time. Not everyone's using review to determine whether you're right or wrong. People are calling things out before. But to his point, there's a difference between, winning and losing can cost you your job or someone who is sitting down at home criticizing the team. Yes, there's more pressure on you. Understood. But sometimes it's not hindsight when someone knows you should be doing something else. It's just they don't have the pressure of doing it in the moment. Sure. So criticism is not going to bother him. We know that. He's been in the NFL for a very long time, from a player to a coach. I don't expect that to be an issue, but I wouldn't be surprised if the jovial DeMeco that we've seen, because it's kind of been an easy path so far. Who's been questioning DeMeco Ryans through the first 29 games or so of his coaching career? It's been none of that. And this all comes with the expectation that you're a real contender. The fact that you don't look like one right now is where this is coming from. A 6-4 record for last year's Texans, love it. We'd love it. But this was supposed to be a team who was fighting with the Chiefs and the Ravens and others for a chance to go out there and go win a Super Bowl. Now you look like a version of all the other teams we've seen here who were good enough to make the playoffs, but not good enough to take a big step. That's what's bothering people. And DeMeco still has a buffer because Bobby Slowick is between him and most of the arrows. If we're talking about human meat shields, it's Bobby Slowick. It's not DeMeco.
There's one more.
For us, it's Chris Strausser.
I spoke to the media last week.
Yeah, you gotta throw him out there.
That's DeMeco Ryans.
Yep.
Not quite the throwing himself behind him, but
I don't play Call of Duty.
If Aaron Wilson wants to shoot an arrow or two at him.
True. I don't play Call of Duty, but there's a new one coming out, and I saw that you can hold a body in front of you, and they can take all the shots while you're firing. That's what throwing Strausser out there is.
Yeah, Strausser and Slowick.
Maybe it's not done intentionally, but that's what it is. Throw fresh meat to everyone. Strausser. Slowick's out there every week, so he's used to it. Strausser, go out there and answer questions, but don't show your face. We don't do that to you. I don't know why that was a thing.
Protect your identity.
We can still go to the website and see who you are, but Yes, if you missed it last week, Chris Strasser spoke, but no one could film him. At least you could film him, but with the camera pointed at the floor.
Do you think that DeMeco Ryans is going to be pretty immune from the actual heat that we're talking about where, the first year and a half of his coaching career, it's been only exceeding expectations until very recently? Do you think that until the playoffs, he kind of has a free ride or free-ish ride, assuming that they make the play? I think we all assume they're going to make the playoffs. So do you think until they actually get there and then perhaps disappoint in the playoffs, like no one's going to say that Texans have a DeMeco Ryans problem until then?
There won't be any real pressure on him until the playoffs. But if they get through this stretch at 9-4, what is it? The Cowboys, the Jags, and the Titans, and not in that order, but that's who they play, I believe. That's 9-4. People will be fine, but they'll still be looking at that next stretch. I don't know where the Dolphins will be. They could be a 5-6 team, or actually, that's not possible. They could be anywhere from 6-6, so maybe they lose all three. Who knows? Who knows where they are? But if there are a team pushing for a playoff spot, and the Chiefs are there, and the Ravens are there, now you're talking about teams with quarterbacks that exceed what they're going to see the next 3 weeks. Teams that are either contending or fighting for a playoff spot, and they don't do well in that stretch, then it comes back. Not to the point where DeMeco Ryans has to worry, because the Texans aren't firing DeMeco Ryans.
No, I just
But
meant,
as far as people questioning things,
just PR-wise.
it'll be a Slowick thing. Particularly if the CJ we've seen for the first 10 weeks continues, where he's not operating at peak CJ Stroud, Slowick will be the one. Whether the Texans feel that way or not, the talk will be about what's wrong with this offense. Why can't Bobby Slowick get answers for CJ? Why is he hurting the trajectory of a good young quarterback? Because CJ has around the league, he has a great. I'm trying to think of the exact word for how people treat him, but it's like he's Teflon. He's Teflon right now. Anytime you talk about him and any of the struggles outside of Houston, it's about, well, they're not doing enough for him. The offense isn't fitting for him.
Either the line or the play call.
And that's true. The line is not good. It is affecting the way he plays. But even when there are obvious mistakes by him, it is excused by, well, this is all stemming from the line not playing well, and it's leading him to not be as good as he was, and the coordinator's not doing enough. Even when there are obvious things, it's like, well, the build-up to it led to this. So he's Teflon. CJ's more Teflon than DeMeco, but they're neck and neck for that. And if they come out of this next 6 games or so, and they're like 9-7, or maybe they're only 10-6, they drop 2 out of 3 against that next stretch after these 3, the questions will start up, and we'll be asking, is this team playoff ready? Can they get past a potential game against the Steelers or the Ravens if they're the 4 seed? And then if you drop a game at home in the playoffs, then next year, not that he's in trouble, but it'll be, hey.
It'll be loud.
The honeymoon stuff will be over pretty quickly.
Yeah.
This show, we can't put pressure on anyone. We will just ask the questions we always ask in a way that doesn't sound like we're all that serious.
Mm-hmm.
But for the people who think they actually have any pull and they can start to beat and start the drumbeat of what's going on, that'll become a thing throughout next season. If this season doesn't turn around in the way that makes us feel pretty good about them, no matter how it ends this year.
Yeah, I think that's fair, to where not on the hot seat or anything close to it this season, this off season probably, but going into next year, that's when, again, probably still not like job on the line, but more eyes on him. I guess less Teflon is the way to go. These guys are going to be less Teflon if what looks like the trajectory of their season is happening actually does happen. Now, there's still time for them to pull out of it.
They fix things and they wind up like, I don't know, if they wind up 12-5 or something like that, then the concerns will lessen. We just have to see it. Speaking of stuff like that, Nick Sirianni's on my TV right now. He was a guy coming into this year despite making a Super Bowl, despite being one of the best teams of football until late last year where things fell apart. He had to go fire 2 coordinators the Eagles left him hanging for a week or so before they made a decision about his job. So when people are like, why would you question DeMeco? That's just a business of the NFL. Now, Philly's a different town, and maybe the ownership had lost confidence in Nick Sirianni. That's why he had to make the 2 hires, and maybe they made those hires themselves and told him, get your hands out of the offense. You're now just a CEO type as opposed to someone who's really making offensive personnel decisions. You let Kellen Moore do that, and you certainly let Vic Fangio run his defense the way they want. I don't think that happens here. I think there's been so much ineptitude and so much concern about how this organization is run. They won't be digging deep into ripping away DeMeco's power. That's not happening here. It's been too much awfulness, and what we saw last year is going to give him a long run to try to make things work, and I don't have any reason to believe he won't. I just do think it's interesting that is already kind of building to a point where they want him to fire his OC. Not that they want him gone, but people want him to fire the OC that everyone was so afraid of losing just 6 months ago. So there we are. Just how the NFL works, and he told you that.